hello. Happy St. Paddy's Day. May the luck of the Irish be with you. I hope you're having an amazing day. If this is your first time seeing me live, sharing is caring, so spread a little love on that share button. I hope you're having a rad day. It's Sensual Saturday. We all need to re-engage and reconnect with our senses, right? So today we've got a little different setup. I am playing with some wireless earbuds my lucky leprechaun delivered to me. This is the beautiful aspect of having wonderful people in your life. Hi Bush, how are you? Please let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Tell me how you're spending this gorgeous day. I'm trying to tune in to what is. Hi Tanya, how are you? So I have a little buddy with me who is going to lay down. Go on, down. Good boy. Let me know if you can hear me well. Kilted up. Oh, how beautiful. Hi Ricardo, how are you? Tell me what you're doing on this holiday. Although I've heard mixed reviews about how the holiday is actually misinterpreted. That something I read recently said that it was the holiday really revolves around some people's ancestors, and St. Patrick supposedly ran out the pagans. I don't know if that's the full truth. If anybody knows the history, please let me know in the comments, because that's kind of interesting. I'm part Irish, obviously. I have green eyes. My Irish eyes are always smiling upon you, just in case you're wondering. I know that over the years, people would say you're supposed to be wearing green. If you're not wearing green, you get pinched. And when someone would go to try to pinch me, I'd say, you can never pinch me, I'm always in green. So, yeah, fun stuff. So, anyway, yeah, I've been reflecting upon this, today being an interesting day for me. Hi, Taib. I got up early and I went to sadhana to do my kundalini, get my yoga practice on, which to me is one of the most important things to do every single day, because that's my dedication, my devotion to my personal growth and evolution. And I notice that if I do that, it maintains more stability, not just for myself, but for those around me. In the past, on the days when I have actually missed my practice, I've noticed an imbalance in myself and not feeling grounded, frustrated, angered, reactive, falling into old patterns and belief systems, and the mind going out of it in that, what I call the monkey tailspin, that craziness. So this is something to recognize in yourself. Do you resist what you deal with? Do you resist what drops in? Because really, resistance is a rejection of self. And when we're resisting whatever it is we're being faced with or dealing with, we're really resisting that aspect of ourselves. And I think this is huge, because how many people are willing to admit that they dislike that, but that's the reason that they dislike it is because it's really an aspect that they embody. And it only shows up to remind you, hey, you are that too, that is you too. So what we resist will persist. The more attention you focus on what you don't want, you're just bringing more to you. The more you push away something, because when you fight the currents, the easier it can come back, right? There's going to be always this divine dance in life. There's always going to be this, what comes in will go out. Energy is meant to stay in motion. We're meant to be emoting. We're meant to participate and interact and engage with whatever it is that's going on. Oh, that's beautiful, Ricardo. An AA meeting. Oh, that's gorgeous. I love that. Congratulations. How many years are you sober? I truly applaud you and anyone and everyone who has ever taken personal responsibility and personal control of their lives. It takes a very humble, courageous, vulnerable individual to step into their personal power and to, whether you attend those meetings or you work on it on your own. I do believe personally, community is what builds and grows, and when you yourself are in that space, you are uplifting others. So congratulations, Ricardo, on your 21 years sober. That's amazing. That's fantastic. And I know that you're inspiring many just through your own inspired living. You showing up for you is truly, obviously, going to show up and inspire another to do the same. It gives them permission to recognize, oh, if they can do it, I can do it too. So that's absolutely amazing, and I love, love, love reading that. I see that tail wagging. He just can't sit still. I'm going to tell you that we have Buddy on a banana diet, and Buddy is like wackadoo. He is dog on banana steroids. He's gotten a little spoiled. He doesn't even have to. First thing in the morning, he's like rearing to go. He's like a puppy over here. Look at this. Look at this. And now he's pulling me on the chain to the point where he's at least 70, 75 pounds. And if it's dark outside, I'm getting pulled over to wherever the cats are because he sees everything. So that and sweet potatoes. He loves sweet potatoes. You're lucky if your dog likes bananas. There's not a lot of dogs that like bananas. But he has stopped itching like he was before. It's reduced his histamine levels. So whatever it is that is causing the issues within him, he's much calmer. Yes, he has lots of energy, but he's much calmer as a result of what we would call a majority monomealing diet, right? So that's what the body really prefers. It requires less to process and sift out and sort out and assimilate when you have one item that you're putting in that's a whole food. Your body goes, oh, look at that. That's a banana. I can take all the parts and I know exactly how to work with that. So it's been interesting to watch. He's been on it for, I think, 2 weeks now. He's been doing fantastic. But returning to resistance and rejection, because when we reject certain aspects of ourselves or even another person, we're pushing away and suppressing that which needs to be integrated, and we need to embody and embrace as our whole. There's no such thing as taking the good without the bad, right? You're not late, Heather. You're just on time, right? Beautiful. It's amazing that I went from really being bundled up because it's so cold these past few days to walking out and it being 72 and the wind is light, so there's not a big breeze picking me up and moving me. And I took a nap earlier because this might be TMI for some people, but that's okay. That's what I'm all about, is sharing, and that's who I am. As a woman, my moon cycle started Monday, and I thought it was over. But this morning, it just went, hey, I'm back and I'm full on again. And this isn't the first time it's happened. And, you know, I don't listen to people who try to put labels on it. Oh, it must be this and it must be that. No, it's my body. My body, it goes through shifts, it goes through cycles, it goes through changes. And that's one of the things I've tapped and tuned into, that I know that major changes are happening when my body is going through these various versions of a moon cycle. So we're very deeply affected, and not to the point where it dictates, but that energetic tide, right? So we have the moon, we're 70% water as it is, which, guess what? The moon rules our emotions. And so if you're not drinking enough water to begin with, first off, and you're getting emotional and commotional and angry and emotional, all the stuff that comes up is also telling you you're probably imbalanced on your water, on top of which are your breathing. So earlier today I was doing the 30th day of the 40-day Rad Kundalini Yoga Challenge. And I was expressing, and I talk about this a lot, but I know a lot of times I have some people who just show up and they haven't ever seen me go live. When you really start fully breathing the breath, B-R-E-A-D-T-H, the breath of your life, you really engage fully with all of your senses and really tap into your body's wisdom by just being silent and feeling and seeing and listening and all of those senses around when you take a breath in. And as it goes deep within the pelvic floor and expands up to the belly and expands the diaphragm, lifts up through the chest. And on the exhale, your chest lowers, the diaphragm flattens, the belly softens, and you pull in at that last navel point. As you do this 3 to 5 times, no matter what your emotional state, your breath will rebalance you. It will recalibrate you. It will reinvigorate and inspire you because you are being breathed into. It isn't just an unconscious act. The breath, the life force, is actually breathed into you. That is the biggest form of love that we all have that we fail to recognize and notice and honor and appreciate. If you can take just the first thing in the morning and remind yourself what a beautiful gift it is that someone loved me so much, whether it be a someone, universe, energy, soul, whatever it is, that you're loved so much that you have the breath of life first thing in the morning. Just a small, simple gratitude for that. Write it, speak it, think it, at least sit with that for a moment. Breathe fully in and feel how it enlivens you. Feel how it brings you back to life. And I mean, like most of us, for myself, sometimes I used to be a shallow breather. I'd be stuck up here, or I'd be shallow, not even going fully into my heart space. And when I started to learn to breathe better and deeper and fuller, a lot of emotions that I had suppressed and pushed down started coming to surface. What does that mean? That means that there was something that wasn't being released. And whatever goes in has to come out, right? So the longer you sit with it, whether you like it or you don't, eventually it's gonna come out. And when we start stacking things on top of one thing after another, and we're just like, well, I'll deal with that later. Oh, I don't need to look at that. I don't need to consider that. That's what causes the dis-ease. You're dissing the ease of your life. You're distancing yourself from life. It's a form of rejection. When you diss anything, put the words, the letters, D-I-S, in front of anything, and what you're doing is rejecting. You're pushing away, you're suppressing. Are you desensitized because you're fearful of engaging your senses? Because the word sensuality triggers these old beliefs that sensuality means sexuality. When in reality, sensuality is all about fully living in all areas of your life. And it doesn't matter if it's sexual, if it's eating, if it's walking down the street. Sensuality truly is engaging all of your senses. And when you engage all of your senses, your life comes into the richness, the fullness. So when I bring it back to the breath, the more you start to breathe and you can re-youth yourself, you can re-energize, you can rebirth into the richer, fuller version of yourself. That this rebirth that occurs through this more full, rich breathing is what we all desire and need to come out of these cold depressions, these deep, dark depressions. My girlfriend Devon and I were talking yesterday. Most people don't realize they're even in a cold depression. Do you know what that is? How many of you spend most of your hours on social media? Cold depression is just being engaged and sucked in and not even knowing that you're depressed, that you've lost touch with reality, that you're disengaged as much as you claim to be engaged. Again, rejecting engagement, rejecting dissing. Push it away is the same thing as dissing it. It's the same thing as pushing an aspect of yourself away. There are many people who can easily hermit and hide. They prefer to not be out in public. They prefer to be in cubicles. They prefer to be in dark spaces. And what they're doing is suppressing their life force, or not expanding and living fully. There's a lot of contraction, and you can only go in so far before eventually you have to come out. Because at every moment in time, we're either contracting or expanding, right? When we breathe in, we're expanding. When we breathe out, we're contracting. So what is it that you hold on to that causes you to contract and go within? What is it you can release and expand and make more rich and full in your life? These are just some Lana-isms, some things that have come to mind that I've been reflecting upon today. That even though I laid down with the anticipation of a few moments, because I just really wanted to regroup and recalibrate, when I started the morning very early, I felt pain. I felt something tense, and then I realized, oh, my moon cycle is still here and it's come on full-fledged, like it started all over again. Because release, right? Sometimes as women, we release in this form, releasing what no longer serves us. That's one form that we manifest and release toxins, whatever's built up, energetic. And as women, that's when we're our most intuitive selves, when you really need to trust your instinct and look at it and ask what it is trying to tell you. What is it you can learn from whatever it is you're feeling and sensing in the moments? If you're very intuitive in your dreams, they're more heightened. And so during my, what turned out to be at least 4 hours of a nap, I was very deep into various dreams. High diving into pools. It was incredible. Very interesting. So sometimes things like this come up for us to go, oh, okay, I don't need to put a label on it, and I can't just say, oh, I'll just, whatever, it is what it is, and just, see, there's that old, it is what it is, whatever, let me just brush it off, and there's a tone of animosity. Have you ever heard someone say, it is what it is, with a tone that makes you go, well, they're not accepting it, they're really rejecting it. Are they appreciating it? Not really. They're just shoving it off to the side. And again, that's an aspect of resisting what is with ignorance. If I ignore it, then it'll go away. But it never goes away. In fact, the more you diss it, resist it, ignore it, the more it comes on full force. Haven't you ever noticed that? Oh, my life, it's this, it's that. Watch the words you choose to describe what you're going through in life. Because people, whatever the story is you tell, that's the life you're living. Whether it's an old story or a new story, make it one you really do want to live. The stories we tell, the words we use, we create energy with those words. Those are vibrations. If we say something is challenging, if we say, I dislike this, I don't want that, well, guess what? That's what comes to you. Because the universe doesn't hear the negating words, it just notices your attention and your energy focus upon it. And so resistance is futile. And even those of us who have gone through, as I was discussing, sex the other day, and this is a big deal. This is, again, a conversation that needs to be had. Hi, Tina. How are you, honey? Sex is a natural human need, desire, connection to one another, but it's how we go about it. And I was reading what Holly wrote on the video from yesterday, that yes, we want to change, again, the verbiage. How do we call it? We call it sex. Where did that come from? It's not just sex. Physical intimacy, lovemaking, sacred union, divine dance. We want it to be something more than just the 3 letters of sex. Too often, the way sex has been, hi Holly, there she is. The way sex has been interpreted is that sex is also referred to as your gender, which is really not making sense to me. So this whole what's your sex is really a question of what's your gender. And when paperwork used to say choose your gender, and then all of a sudden somewhere in the rights department it became what's your sex, not your orientation. Sex is a word that had been misassociated with the word gender, and I wish personally I could get my hands on that person and say, you need to stick to the word gender. What's your gender? What is your physical, biological gender? There's a whole lot more than male and female these days. I honor and respect that. One of the dialogues I was having the other day with a girlfriend was, as a very compassionate and considerate person, hi Cheryl, I want to be able to honor if a person refers to themselves as a he, a she, a they, transgender, whatever. But see, there's so much uncertainty within the person themselves a lot of times as to what they wish to be called, because this hasn't been a dialogue. This is another topic altogether. That we all need to feel free to engage and ask the questions that maybe we're embarrassed about, that maybe we are fearful of the response or rejection as a result. That if someone appears, it shouldn't be a fearful approach of, you know, I genuinely want to respect you. How do you prefer to be called? What is the reference you prefer? When we open these dialogues, it becomes easier. I don't believe that everybody is going to want the same label, because again, here we go back to the label department. I dislike labels because labels make you lazy. They make people lazy and assuming. Assuming only based on their personal experiences, belief systems, and everything they've witnessed in the world. So when you give someone a label, you have taken away from the individual's opportunity to perceive and to interact in a unique setting. It is always better to ask and assume. That in itself will start the healing process for all of us. I want you to feel comfortable sharing with me who you are and not assuming what I think you are. And so if any time you reach out to me and maybe I didn't refer to you or even pronouncing your name correctly, please let me know, because I like to again, even when you pronounce someone's name, you're sending back that energy to the person. And so to me, it's very important. My name is Lana. I've been called Lana, Lena, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. And often I'll ask, can you please pronounce it Lana? I've even seen it where I've pronounced it and they still somehow come back to Lana. The Lana one is the one on the chalkboard for me, the worst. And most of it is unconsciousness. It's not being mindful. It's not being present when someone mispronounces your name. When you actually take the time, it also shows a lack of caring, because the irony is if what you want done for you is what you should also demonstrate in the form of how you engage and interact with others, right? Holly, I bet that's, if the more people you're around, the easier it is to have those dialogues, and I think that's beautiful. I don't judge any of it. I think a lot of things that are happening in the world, the uncertainties, the lack of self-awareness and compassion and love for self has caused so much disconnect that I wonder how many people go through these extreme changes physically and how they interact and engage with people Some of it in the past, I saw it no different than when we're hurt children, traumatized, and needing attention. Some of it can be that, and some of it can truly be, because I don't know everybody individually, I've witnessed people acting out as a result of the lack of attention that they needed growing up, and the lack of identity, and the confusion of their own personal identity. See, our personal identities are coping mechanisms, right? And they're created to get by in life. So however we identify is a result of what we have lacked or experienced at some point in our life, especially at those younger formidable years. So the more you are living and rejecting yourself, the more confusion upon who you are comes up. I know. And you know, there's I've had several friends who have gone through this process, physically changing. When I was when I was living in Naples, Italy, and I was working with the U.S. Navy. I love you too, Maria. So good to see you. I had a young man who was a super sweetheart. I loved being around him. He had just such a warm, kind heart and beautiful energy. And he confided in me, and I had no idea. I really am. I'm so oblivious that I don't see that. I just see a person. I see a being, lovingly. And sometimes over the past in my life, when I have rejected someone, I know it was an aspect of myself I was rejecting, not the individual, just part of the personality, part of that engagement, right? That energy. But this young man confided in me that he was getting out of the service specifically because he felt he had an identity that was not in relation to what he was living. He felt he was living inauthentically. And to be authentic, he felt he needed to make the transition to become a woman. Sit. See, I'm telling you, he's got all this energy. And so he became a she. And that is how he preferred to be referred to, and all that she was going through during that time. And I thought that was absolutely beautiful and courageous. I don't know what I would do. I personally, that's a physical, that's hormones, everything. And I know a lot of men and a lot of women come in with, maybe this identity feeling like they're in the wrong body. We don't know what causes that. It could be soul, and it can be other things too. I think every individual is different. I would never say it's definitely this or it's definitely that for any one person, because only the person knows, and only they can go through that experience. But that takes a lot of inner work to recognize that I need to make this transition. So whoever you are, if you're ever going through that, please, I'm here to support you and just, remind you, it takes a lot of soul searching and going within and truly honoring what it is that your soul is guiding you to do. So I know that was tough, and she went through a lot with the family, the parents. The mother was super, super supportive. The father had a little bit of trepidation, but it all worked out, and she has a beautiful connection now. I currently know of someone who is also going from a transition from woman to man. And I mean, that to me is huge too. I can't imagine. But just the beauty and recognizing it for yourself. I know it's definitely conflicting, but that's also got to be a form of embracing all those aspects of yourself too. So even if you're ever going through that, it takes that going within and accepting all aspects of yourself to integrate into the whole of who you are. So that rejection and resistance is just seeing what really naturally should be inside of you. If you see it in someone else and you're pushing that away, again, that's also a form of rejecting yourself. And that's what it's always going to come back to. There's aspects in us and every one of us that we embody and share, that doesn't make us better or worse. It connects us more than it divides us, but yet most of the time we are conflicted to the point where we allow it to divide us first. We allow ourselves to create more distance. We're dissing again. When you create distance, you're dissing the stance. Instead of standing together, we get away from each other. And so we really need more of an embracing way of handling, embracing one another, to embrace ourselves first. But start with self first. Start with cultivating and nurturing that self-love. When you harness and nurture that in yourself, it makes it so much easier to do the same in everyone else. And when you can embrace yourself, you're going to give others the permission to do the same. And I don't see it as a disability whatsoever. Disability, hello, you're dissing an ability. You're rejecting ability. Crazy, but words say a lot. It's a lot of like, when you start looking at the verbiage you use, you start to recognize how you create and perpetuate. So we're either part of the problem or part of the solution. And if you can just simply hone in on the language you use, that in itself will tell you all about how you're living and life is showing up to you. So again, awareness is key. Being mindful of how you show up for yourself will also make it easier to be mindful of how you show up for others. When you're resisting something within, it's going to show up outside of you. So if you reject someone or push someone away, you diss them, you're just doing it to yourself. And every entertainment of another person is exactly what's going on within you. Yeah, and you know, the more you show up for yourself, you're really showing up for everybody else. There's no way you can show up for yourself without showing up for someone else. You can show up for someone else, but as you show up for them, you can easily enough reject yourself as a result. So it has to start from the inside to radiate out. And the more that, again, and anyone out there, if you're ever having issues in a relationship, just step back and go within and go, how am I treating myself? Is this about that other person and how they're treating me? Or is it really about what is it I'm saying and doing within this that's coming out around me? I think that for me, that has been the biggest teacher. And that's why I'm telling you, everything I've learned in this life is that life is about relationship. The first most important one with yourself, and then the rest with everyone else. When you work on the one with yourself, the others come in a lot easier. There's a lot more receptivity when you're open and you open that heart space, right? And that heart space, because the heart has a huge magnetic pull, you will draw in wherever you are in your heart the other people into your life. So, well, let me know if you have any questions in the comments, anything you want me to discuss. I just had a lot of reflective things going on in my life. It's beautiful because what Holly, you're saying, when you notice how someone else is treating you, you realize I must be doing pretty good on the inside. And I don't know if you ever noticed this ebb and flow. Have you ever gone through this where you're holding that space for another person and then all of a sudden you're wondering, they're being really nice to me, but I'm having some internal conflict going on. What's going on with me? But that person's still treating me well. And then one day, you're in a good mood, and that other person's going through their conflict externally, and you can see it, and you're going, oh, well, that's really weird. I'm in a good place. See, we're going through these cycles and waves, and when you're in partnership and relationships, what I've noticed is there's a beautiful, again, this divine dance. Today I show up and I'm in a great mood. I'm showing up with the graceful dance. And my partner shows up in the same way. but maybe there's a subtle time where he shows up and he's not in that I want to dance space. He's contracting, right? But then I see, okay, well then I must have carried the space for a good point when he was in a good place and I was in a bad place, and we kind of jockey positions for holding the space for another person. So that plays out as well. Yeah, and you know what? We're learning. It's the ebb and flow. We're learning as we grow. We learn as we grow, right? So yeah, and none of it's bad, because even when maybe you're in a bad space or they're in a bad space, it's how you choose to show up and respond or react that makes the difference. A lot of times, I used to be very much reactionary, external with my anger, upset. I used to be very much like, like the lion I am. But I've become, and I am internal at the same time, so I kind of vacillate between the two, internal, external, internal, external. But before, it was like very easy for me to just blow up and out. Now I'm more internal and reflective. And I think that has so much more to do with, like I said, my practice, my daily meditation, my practice on journaling, reflection, going within and just breathing with it and going, okay, what is this trying to tell me about myself right here now? And when I'm able to sit with it, it's easier to shift it, and instead of blowing up and out like the volcano I used to be, now I can show up as that strong, in my power, personal responsibility, courageous and vulnerable self. Learning how to communicate whatever's going on in here on a level that sometimes it's hard for me to admit, hey, today I'm not feeling well, I'm having a bad day. Please don't take it personal. I want you to understand this is where I'm in, I'm going within, and if I don't say anything, it's not against you, it's so that I can process it. If I process it within myself, I don't attack outside and try to give it out as if someone else did it to me. I know whatever's going on inside of myself is something I need to work on, not someone else. And sometimes I'm noticing, and I don't know if you do this, I have to say practicing, it changed my life. Hey, it's through personal experience. It's a yoga of awareness through your personal experience. That's why I've embraced it so much, Kristen. I totally agree. Kundalini yoga is just amazing. It's like you are your own psychologist. You don't need to worry about what other people think or suggest. And I do believe we do all need mentors and people who are higher up on our vibrational scale, so that in order for us to grow, we need to stand tall with those who will uplift us and not people who are going to bring us down. You have to engage yourself throughout this process. I've learned that as you're doing the inner work, you surround yourself with who are at least at a level where they're not going to trigger the old parts of you that will bring you back down. Like, for example, for me, I used to be very easily influenced by the negativity. It's very easy to turn around and go into the I hate this and or the cursing and the screaming and the loud voice and the I need to have my voice heard. This is an old pattern because that was my family's pattern, right? Hey, come on. I don't just have Irish Catholic in me. I got German, French Canadian, I got some Portuguese in me, I got the Latin in my blood, and I know there's Arabic as a result of that because they were a big part of Portugal. But all that aside is irrelevant. What it really boils down to is you tapping into your soul's wisdom and your space. Where are you coming from? And the more you can go within and soften and breathe into, again, being inspired, you are being breathed into love at all times. The more you can work on the love within yourself, you can radiate it out and support others. And yeah, we will take on other people's stuff when we're not present enough with our own to recognize and discern that it's not us. And the only reason we even pick that up is because there is something within us that is still being rejected and resisted and pushed and dissed aside. So whenever something comes up and you go, that's not mine, it is too. It all is, because I am that too. You are not without that, and it is not without you. It is cyclical. You've either been there or still have it in you. We all engage, and it's every aspect and part of our life at some point. So haven't you ever noticed, well, I can see this in that person. Well, how do you think you can see it in another person if you didn't embody it yourself? You spotty, I got it. If you see something in someone else, it is guaranteed that is an aspect of yourself where you wouldn't have seen it to begin with. I know, Cheryl, right? When we change, transition, go through all these life changes, I know for myself, people who knew me from years ago to see me now, I know they're like, she's not the person I remembered. Or, wow, I've had people say to me, even recent, in the past year, I had somebody say to me, I just wanted to let you know, I've noticed you've softened a lot. You've really calmed, you're much more approachable, you're much more radiant. I get this. And over the years, I've gotten subtle insights from my teachers, from people who, again, I see as mentors because they've taught me through their personal experience. It's not that I went to them and I asked them for advice, but just witnessing how they behave. It's not that we need to go reaching out, but inspiration comes from watching how someone else is living their own life. Nobody can tell us anything about ourselves. We really don't already know, but the question is whether or not we're accepting and embracing it. If I make a mistake, if I notice something in my life that needs improvement, the key is that I recognize it and I start working on it. Not that someone points it out to me, because then that's ego involved on both parts. If somebody else has to point something out to you, it's their ego just as much as your ego will reject it. So when you notice something in your life that you know can use improvement, that's for you. That's not for anybody else. If someone else notices it, well, why are they so fixated on what you're doing wrong that they're not noticing that maybe there's something they can improve upon within themselves? See, the blessing and the lesson in all of that is if someone notices you're doing something wrong, they feel the need to point it out to you. Number one, it's an ego thing for them, and it's going to cause an internal conflict, more than likely. And what it really shows, and maybe that person doesn't realize that if they're pointing out what you've done wrong, there's something within them that feels the need to try to fix someone else, but not look within and say, what is this saying about me that I witnessed their faults? Is it possibly a reflection of the fault of the person pointing it out that still resides in them, and so they feel like if I point it out for them, I feel better about my own faults? Or it can even be they themselves do the same thing and they don't actually self-correct what it is they're at fault for that they're pointing out in someone else. There's so many dynamics with engaging like this. Wow. That truck is so jacked up that just went by, that really loud truck. I could walk underneath it without bending down. And y'all, I'm 5'4" and 3/4. I'm just saying, it's tall. I mean, I'd probably have to go like that to get over and still not touch the top of the underside of that truck. That was crazy. Oh yeah, trying to fix someone else is the subtlest form of control, thinking we know better for someone else when we don't even know what's best for ourselves. And again, that's control. That's all about trying to fix someone else to make you feel more comfortable. And by the way, my humbling experience with that, Holly, a couple years back when I was doing Beyond Addiction, my wake-up call on all of the trying to fix people that I experienced with my dad is it showed I wasn't accepting and loving him where he was at. In fact, that's called conditional love. So if we think we need to fix someone, it's because we're not loving them as they are. We're rejecting and dissing them, in fact. Pushing away, again, an aspect of ourselves because it makes us feel more comfortable if we think they're at wherever we feel they need to be. So there's so much in that, like, oh, I'm trying to fix someone, I'm a good person, I have their best interest at heart. No, it's really selfish. You want them to be a certain way to make you feel better because even if you say, I don't want them to go through the pain I went through, and the intentions behind it are always good. I know, I had them too, and still do sometimes. But you got to step back and ask, is this going to serve them or me? And am I loving them? And it's humbling to be pointed out that I'm not loving them if I'm telling them they should do something to fix themselves, or they should help. I'm trying to help you. It's so conditional, and it's such a subtle form of control, we don't even realize we're trying to do it. Life is funny, isn't it? So it really boils down to, if we can work on accepting and loving ourselves first, everyone else will just fall into place. And there will be no need to try to fix or help anybody. Did I mention it's getting cold out here? There's a reason I brought my jacket. I came prepared, y'all. I came prepared. It's even got a hoodie on it. This came out of one of the boxes I was going through the other day. Right? Woof. Oh, so am I, very much. And you know, it really was, it was so humbling for me, because I would say, oh, I'm trying to, you know, my dad, he could really eat better, and it was about the food, right? Because I had gone through so much pain with my own food issues. I didn't want to see my dad go through it. That's the nature of wanting the best for others. We think, well, if I can help them, they won't go through what I went through. And that intention sounds really pure, and it's very true. You do care. You don't want anybody else to suffer what you suffered. But if you turn around and assume, making an ass out of you, that what you're offering as a suggestion, or what your advice may be, what you're really doing is it's ego-based, because you think you know better. And you might, but it's not your choice, and it's not your place to point it out to somebody else unless they're asking for you to give them advice, and they're genuinely seeking your consultation. So this is a key to life, because it's also another form of resistance, people. You're resisting them where they're at. You're rejecting them for what they're not doing that you wish they would do to better themselves. I hope that serves. I hope you're all having a beautiful Saturday. I love you all. Thank you so much for always showing up and supporting me. I really appreciate it. And I hope that whatever words I share are supporting you as well. See, I don't know. I'm not going to assume that what I say is going to help everybody. I just speak from what I'm going through, just because this is a beautiful way to connect, right? Uplift, inspire. Put your hoodie on. It's chilly out here. Actually, I don't want that on. It'll catch my hair and pull it. It'll be very uncomfortable. So we have a beautiful sunset. I'm going to see if you can see this. And I've got to pull this out. So I'm propped up in a tree as always. The beauty in recognizing what it is you are doing for yourself will also make it easier, let's see, for others to just say, wow, look at what they're doing. I could be inspired by that. It's really difficult to get a perfect shot of the sunset, because of this isn't like a high quality lens on these cameras. But can you see how beautiful that is? I love you too, Holly. I love you all. Cheryl, and hi Dan, how are you doing today? Hi Darcy, Wenda, Sophie, Kristen, I love you all. Thank you again. If you shared this video, I truly appreciate it, and it warms my heart. Sometimes I'm totally not expecting it, and I see it, and I see you. So thank you for that. I got my little lucky ladybug on here. So have an amazing, be safe if you're going out on this St. Paddy's Day. Let the luck of the Irish be with you. Kisses and hugs. I love you. Bye.